Good afternoon. My name is Michael Couch, and I am doing a presentation over a metacognition class at Texas A&M Commerce. And this metacognition class is it's an education course with section number 401. Um, I am doing my presentation over chapter 11 out of our metacognition book that we use. And chapter 11 is over older adulthood. Um, and I got my handy dandy clipboard here with my notes that I took over chapter 11, and I'll try not to read off of it too much, but I use it to help me along the way. But pretty much, I'm just going over the kind of the highlights, what I got highlighted out of it, and what I found interesting in the chapter. Um, and one of the main things that I found was, keeping your brain busy. That's a big part in older adulthood when you are aging, when still learning how to learn. Um, uh, One of the first things that starts off in the chapter is, which of course we know, we are getting older. In 1900, our life expectancy was around 40 years old, and now it's getting close to 80 years old. So we are substantially getting older. So in just 100 years, we're already doubled that, and it's predicted to keep on increasing. But the problem with that is we're new to this still. We're new to the getting older thing. We're not used to people who live into the average age of being now 75, 80 years old. So we're finding it harder to learn when we are older just because we don't know how to yet, because it's still a relatively new thing to us. Um, we want to improve mental health as we age, so we can contribute to society still. It's something that we still want to do. Most people want to stay busy and still able to help themselves and not having to be taken care of. But it's tough now that we're getting older, and we're having a harder time remembering things and stuff like that. But I did find that it's interesting. It's kind of a stigma thing. So I'll get into that in a second. So a lot of older people have memory complaints. The information doesn't come to them as easy as it used to in the past, and so it's like a complaint on it, and that's a metacognitive assessment that we just do within ourselves. It's we assess that, well, our memory isn't coming to us as easy as it did, so we tend to give up on it a little bit easier and say, well, we just can't learn as well as we used to do. Um, uh, Studies have shown that yes, it does take a longer amount to learn and retrieve new information as we grow older, but emphasis on the new part. It's learning new information. And there's two questions behind this. Why does aging have a negative effect on learning and memory? And how can people compensate for memory impairment and become better learners? Um, I'll try to answer those questions throughout the rest of the information that I gathered from the book. Um, Here comes the stigma part that I kind of wanted to get to. Two factors. Do older adults know less about how to learn new info, or have less confidence that they can learn this new info? It's either, well, we don't know how to learn this new info anymore as we grow older, or it's we just lack the confidence, and that lacking of confidence comes directly from, as I spoke about earlier, um, the memory not coming to you as fast as it used to when you were younger. So your confidence is lower because um, you can't prove yourself like you used to. You don't have the same abilities. Um, when scientists go and look at this stuff and they make assessments and try to learn about this, they two of the big name questionnaires are the MIA, which is the meta memory in adulthood, and then the MFQ, which is the memory functioning questionnaire. They measure certain things like beliefs about A, how memory function in general, B, one's own memory abilities, and C, degree to which memory abilities change across time. So we're just trying to figure out what people actually think about their memory, how do they view their memory, how does it work, and their thoughts about their own memory. And what is found, here comes the main stigma part in it, is that there's such a negative stigma and stereotypes between growing old and your memory. Uh, it's as you grow older, you turn 50, you have your little over the hill party. It's jokingly, but in the end, it does create a stereotype that as you get older, you don't learn as well, and maybe even close to, well, you're not as smart and you can't contribute to society as much as you used to just because you're older. And this is just not the truth. But because this stigma is around, it automatically makes you think that that's the way it is, and so it puts this negative thought in your mind already that, well, I can't learn at this point in time, or I don't have the ability to learn anymore. So you already have the mindset that you can't do it. I like to refer this to coaching because I am a high school coach now. And even with my teenagers that I coach, whenever they had the mindset or even the negative stigma within the town that, well, I'm not very good, or the team's not very good, or I can't do that, or I can't be this fast ever, if they already have this negative mindset and stigma around them, they never will actually achieve their full abilities. And it's the same thing with as older adults, they're getting 60s, 70s, and 80s. They had this negative stigma around them, towards a lot of things that they do in life. They can't drive as good anymore. They can't get around as good anymore. They can't remember as good anymore. And this negative stigma and stereotype that is around them, it just automatically negatively affects their performance and how they're going to learn and bring in new ideas. And it just that alone decreases learning. I do believe that in future years, if we as a society become better at saying, well, there are things that we can do as we get older to be able to learn and process new information better, and we can do it, and get rid of these negative stereotypes and stigmas that will our older generation, will learn better and can contribute better, and they won't so much have to be taken care of because we don't have to, because it'll be expected still. But those are the main points that I really got out of chapter 11 and older adulthood, and I just want to leave off on this with saying that, well, even though it is more difficult to learn, you still can. And one of the biggest things that I've seen in any of the research for staying able to learn is just really keeping your your brain busy. If you don't keep your brain active, you lose it. It operates off of the you use it or you lose it principle. So don't ever get to a point in life where you think, well, I know plenty of information, you don't really have to learn anymore because you're old and whatever, because then you start losing it because you don't try to learn anymore. And then so you may hit a point in your life after 5 years or so not really doing a whole lot of learning, like, well, there's a new topic that I want to learn, and you're not able to do it anymore because you're out of practice of it. And but that's what I got out of chapter 11. My references come straight from just the book, and then I had two more. One was the ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. I have no idea what those letters mean, but that's the website that I got some from. And then the other one I used was just a PDF file from lectica.org.